on this Thursday, December 5th, 2024. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. We're going to talk to former Chiefs offensive lineman Joe Valerio. We'll talk with Greg Gurley, who was on the call last night right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB of the game between Kansas and Creighton. Creighton was outstanding last night. Weren't they, Jake?
They were. Pop Isaacs.
Give credit where credit's due.
Oh, they were fantastic.
Pop Isaacs, 27 points.
He was the man.
7 rebounds, and Creighton beats number 1 Kansas 76-63.
Dude couldn't miss from outside.
In the Big 12 Big East battle. And Kansas could miss from around the basket.
Yeah, I mean, I think Harris had 21 shots, and that's not that you don't want that guy shooting.
Why not?
20. I think you saw why. He had 15 points on 21 shots last night. He's
6-21 from the floor.
Yeah, he's a hell of a point guard. I love what he does, but I mean that clearly was a plan to force him to shoot. And they were missing Griffin last night too. That's not an excuse, but he was out due to illness. And if you watched the Duke game, he was a catalyst when Dickinson went out. And so I don't know. It felt a couple times they got the game close. They got within 1 and 5 several times, but you never felt like, I didn't at least in the second half. I thought they were going to make a run. I mean, it was a game of runs, especially when the second half opened up. I thought, okay, KU got going. I think they had a 9-0 run, and then Creighton answered with like an 11-1 run. But once it got deep into the second half,
Haney had some complaints about the officiating.
I didn't. That's
Bill Self got a technical.
Yeah, I mean, but you're on the road. I mean, you're gonna. That is just. It's tiresome.
Kansas missed some bunnies.
They did. They were poor. I think 34% from the field. I mean, that's just you can't do that on the road. And to complain about fouls in college basketball is just a loser's song.
Kalkbrenner outplayed Dickinson.
He did. Creighton was just really good, man. They were really good last night, and Kansas wasn't. And that combination was a recipe for a defeat, first defeat of the year, first loss on Kansas's resume. But I mean, hats off to Creighton. They did what they needed to do. They had a good game plan.
I don't want to take my hat off.
All right, don't. Just wave your hand to them. Mm-hmm. Good job, Creighton.
Greg McDermott said this is a building where number 1 teams go to die.
Well, it's the second time in a calendar year. So I guess that's true.
Why don't you play that clip?
Well, I can pull it up. I'm dealing with enough around.
You got it. Oh, what are you dealing with? No excuses.
Not talking about it.
It's the second time you made excuses.
Nope. I'm not.
You said this. This isn't an excuse, but then you talked for a minute about how it was an excuse. About
you want to hear
injury.
from McDermott?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Let's hear him.
McDermott. All right, Coach. You're the all-time wins leader here, but not all wins are created equal. When you beat the number 1 team in the country, it's pretty special. How do you put this one into perspective?
I mean, especially when it's Kansas. You know, I have so much respect for Coach Self. I've known him forever, and you know he does it year after year after year. And it was going to take a special effort on our part on both ends of the floor. Guys are beat up, guys are sick, and they found a way. I'm really proud of my team.
What are you most proud of, though? Let's start with the defensive end of the floor, because they have a lot of different weapons, but you seem to do a pretty good job. It started with neutralizing Dickinson, but what did you like on the defensive end?
Yeah, I just thought, you know, we helped off some guys, and we took some chances, and you know, we were able to get enough of a rim presence to get KJ and Hunter in some foul trouble, and that allowed us to get it to Kalk a little bit the second half. But I thought those guys executed well. I thought we fought on the backboards, and you know, we beat it. Not just a great team, a great program.
Ryan Kalkbrenner was a game-time decision. You honestly didn't know if he was going to play until he went through warm-ups. It was all the way down to the last minute. And not only does he play, but he plays like a monster. What can you say about your senior?
I mean, just a gutsy effort. He hasn't practiced all week. And, you know, we had to do some different procedures to get him on the floor today. But he showed a lot of courage, a lot of guts. And, you know, there's 2 great big guys played today. And I'm sure glad Kalkbrenner's on my team.
What can this team be? What does this step forward mean? Every year is different. You have a lot of new guys, Jemiah Neal, Pop Isaacs, Jackson McAndrew. But what does this step do for your group in this quest this year?
I think with every team, you're selling a dream, right? You're selling a plan. And until you're able to validate that plan with a victory like this, I'm not sure the buy-in is what it's going to be now. And now they know what they're capable of. And we've got to hold ourselves to that standard, not just every game, but every practice, because that's how we're going to grow and get better. But like I said, everybody was ready. Jason Green doesn't play the whole game, goes out, does a great job defensively. Everybody stepped up and did a great job when we needed them. And, what can you say? This is the building number one teams go to die, evidently.
Matt, congratulations. Go celebrate with your team.
Wow.
Evidently.
You know what's real fun?
What?
Get Kansas nice and pissed off for the Missouri game on Sunday.
Yeah.
I
thought about that.
Stupid.
I thought about what your reaction would be.
That's my reaction.
Yeah, I figured that would.
Not that it matters. I don't think either way, but we'll see. There you go. I figured you'd be in a bad mood today because of this, but Greg Gurley will talk you through it.
Yeah.
Then we'll have Adam Kaplan, our college or our NFL insider. We talked college yesterday. Shut up, Steven. Gary Dieter and Anthony Sherman, are they going to be here both?
Yeah, that's text.
Oh, I know it's the plan, but rarely does it come to fruition.
Yeah.
How many times have we had them together over the past month?
It hasn't once in the month of November, I think.
All right, and then Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star in studio. You see here, we begin our 12 days of Hoppy Holidays brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company. And today's prize, our first prize, as selected by our friends from Boulevard, we have this Creed Humphrey Boulevard street sign autographed by Creed Humphrey. And so we'll give that away between now and 10 o'clock. You just got to keep listening. This beautiful Creed Humphrey Boulevard in Chiefs colors, Creed Humphrey Boulevard street sign autographed by Creed Humphrey. So that's very nice. You'd like to have that, wouldn't you?
I would.
Well, you can't.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I can call in and win?
Nope. We'll give that away during Dieter and Sherm. Or maybe I get a wild here and I do it in the 7 o'clock hour. Or maybe I run out of time and I got to do it in the 9 o'clock hour. I don't know. That's why you got to keep listening between now and 10 o'clock. See how that works?
It's a great item.
All right. We will now finish on a very sad note. And we'll go with this and until we talk to Joe Valerio. So last night, several people texted me, including Frank Bowl, and let me know that Al Fitzmaurice had passed away after a months-long battle with cancer. 78 years old. Matt Fitzmaurice posted on Facebook, "It's by the grace of God my pops went peacefully to heaven to meet his maker tonight. He's now having that catch with his dad and living his best life. Until we meet again, love you more than you'll ever know." Al Fitzmaurice, and we used to play a song that he did about having a catch with his dad. For people that don't know, Al Fitzmaurice, very talented musician. I remember one time we had a big tailgate party at Royals opening day in a giant tent, and Al Fitzmaurice and his band were the musical entertainment. Do you remember that?
I do.
I think that's when I would have been on the FM side.
I have that. I think I have that song somewhere.
Well, we'll wait on that. But, I mean, honestly, do you remember that?
I do. I mean, vaguely. I remember him being a musician for sure.
No, we had a great opening day tailgate party. Giant tent, food, everything, at a big stage. And Al Fitzmaurice and his band were the entertainment. He's a hell of a musician.
I think I was there.
You were there. You just may not have a full grasp of it. Pretty sure. Well, that was also, I think, during the Renshaw days. So
yeah,
maybe you were, maybe you weren't. But the Royals released a statement on social media, and it says, we mourn the passing of Al Fitzmaurice, an original Royal who joined us in 1969, was an integral part of our first playoff team in 1976, stayed in Kansas City after his playing days to raise a family, while also remaining actively involved with our community efforts. We send our condolences to Al's loved ones, and we'll miss Al dearly. And that's what I can offer you. Of course, I was a kid, and I still remember, I talk about them all the time, the 76, 77, 78 Royals, and how great they were. And, those were my formative years as a baseball fan. And so I will always speak of those teams in reverential tones, right? And for Al Fitzmaurice, we all had a chance to be around him. When he used to do some pregame and postgame here with us, Union Broadcasting. There's no way I could count the number of charity events or community events where both I was there and Al Fitzmaurice was there, right? But I'd always dig looking at some of his numbers because you get to know these guys on a personal level, and then maybe you're not too familiar because of before your time, or you forget the players that they were. Like with Mike Boddicker, we don't think of Mike Boddicker as a great former pitcher. We just think of him as an angry grandfather. And so, and one of our dear friends. But then you look back and go, oh, boy, Mike was a hell of a pitcher, right? Al Fitzmaurice, 1976. Let's run for the Royals right here. 1973, went 8-3 with a 2.83 ERA. And then 1974, in 190 innings, went 13-6 with a 2.79 ERA. 1975, in 242 innings, went 16-12 with a 3.57 ERA. And then in 1976, when the Royals broke through and made the playoffs for the first time, he went 15-11 with a 3.06 ERA in 220 innings. Huge building block for this franchise from its infancy and to help get them through to the time when they finally broke through and made it to the playoffs. And so you could start right there, a hell of a pitcher that was an original Royal that was a big, big part of their early success. But I mentioned all the different events, right, where our paths would cross. And in the Royal statement, again, it says, stayed in Kansas City after his playing days to raise a family while also remaining actively involved with our community efforts. I said similar things about a former chief that passed away not too long ago, Walter White. He was an awesome guy. And he was one of those guys where if there was a charity event, 9 times out of 10, involving the Chiefs or involving something in the community, 9 times out of 10, he was going to be there. And I feel the same way about Al Fitzmaurice. I was very, very lucky. I've been very, very lucky to be involved in many charities and events in the community. And I've never... I always feel honored when somebody asks me. And I try to make as many as I can, and I try to get involved with as many events as I can. And I mean, there's a certain group of former athletes that if they are asked to do something, they're going to be there. They're going to give back. And Al Fitzmaurice was always at the top of the list, whether it was a charity golf tournament or a charity auction or a gala, anything. I remember I was up doing work with Missouri Western State University because I attended that school for 2 years and doing work there they had a celebrity golf tournament for a while. And so we had lunch. It was me and a couple of people from Mo West and Al Fitzmaurice. We had lunch at Boudreaux's Cajun restaurant up there. Delicious place to go, by the way. But I remember having that lunch and just talking about how they could make their event better or how they could go about trying to raise more money for Mo West. And so he was a part of that, you know. He'd be out there at the ALS golf tournament, the George Brett, Tom Watson, Joe McGuff ALS Golf Classic. I mean, I can't sit here and give you all of them, you know, but I always have so much respect for anyone that puts that much time and effort and love back in the community. You know, anyone that answers the call when people need them to help raise money for their organizations and their worthy causes. And, man, he was right there at the top of the list. Always such a cool guy to talk to. And again, I'm saying this, and I hope you guys understand or believe what I'm saying. One of the most unbelievably nice guys that you will ever meet. Truly, genuinely. You meet enough people in this business where you could tell the difference between someone who's genuine and someone who's not. And he was just super genuine, always had something funny to say or something nice to say, or would say something nice about the show when he didn't have to. Like a talented musician, was always someone that was there to lend their time and efforts to raise money for so many great causes and so many worthwhile charities and organizations in Kansas City. Truly loved the community, and someone that took great pride in what he did in a Royals uniform, because he was a hell of a pitcher for the Royals. Take a minute and go to his baseball reference page and just take a look at what he did in those first several years for the Royals from 1969 through 1976. Tremendous pitcher and just a tremendous guy. And so, very sad. Our heartfelt condolences go out to his family and his loved ones and anyone that was close with Al, which is a lot of people. That list is long in Kansas City. And so that was very sad news. Very sad news to get last night. And I know a lot of people, obviously a lot of people are mourning the loss of Alfred Morris today. So we'll try to mention it a few times again today, but I wanted to make sure that was at the top of the list, and really the most important thing to talk about today, the passing of one of the original Royals, Alfred Morris, who continued up until, these last few months to be just a huge part, a very important part of our community here in Kansas City. So rest in peace, Alfred Morris. We'll take a break. Back after this on WHB. Welcome back to New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Let's check in now with former Chiefs offensive lineman Joe Valerio. Joe, what's up, man?
Steven, how are you, man? Super excited coming into town for alumni weekend. Picked a great game for this one. A little bit later in the season than usual for the alumni weekend, but super excited for Tamba Hali, who's going into the Ring of Honor this week. What a great guy and what he's given back to the game, and and helping George Karlaftis and tutoring guys. He's been a stalwart in the Kansas City community, which is fantastic.
So when are you getting here?
So I'll be getting there late tonight. So coming in and get some work done. Since my new gig in the insurance industry, I do cover the Midwest. So I have a lot of colleagues there that I'll be catching up with for work, actually, which is great. So super excited to come in, spend some time Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday, obviously for the game and for Tamba's big day.
Man, I wish you could carve out some time tomorrow between 9 and 10 a.m. just to come in here and knock Tim Grunhard right on his ass.
Well, Mr. GQ, Jeff Fedot and I were joking about it on our podcast. It's funny when you come back and you see everybody, you haven't seen him in a while or whatever, and stay in touch with Timmy, obviously. But some guys, man, he just looks so good. He's like, you'd say that you were an NFL center, like you were grunny, like the stalwart, middle of the line, just a human being. You look at him like, man, you should be on the cover of GQ at this point. So it's fun. It's great to see the guys staying healthy and getting into good shape as they get out of their playing days, so to speak.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've talked about the offensive line quite a bit. This thing has hit the fan now, and so you've got quite a situation that you'll talk about with me and also on your podcast, and I'm sure that there'll be plenty of you and your former teammates discussing what happened against the Raiders when Wanye Morris was benched in the fourth quarter and Joe Thuney had to move to left tackle and Mike Caliendo came in at guard, because now we're all anticipating, if things go well, that DJ Humphries will be out there. And if that doesn't work, or if he's not ready for some reason, then I would imagine Joe Thuney's next up as Wanye Morris and Suma Taia are put on the back burner. I guess just overall your reaction to what happened and where we are right now with this ever-evolving left tackle situation.
Well, playing football, when you got 53 guys on a roster and 22 starters and a bunch of special teams guys that, play different positions, I mean, you're going to have, a weak spot, right? I mean, you're going to have a position that, not that people didn't pay attention to. I felt like the Chiefs were doing everything they could this year to see what they could do to bolster, the tackle position and to make improvements there. And it just happened to be one that, slipped through and Wanye, Kingsley just didn't pan out or haven't panned out. And will they? Yeah. I mean, they're good players. They just need time to develop. But for right now, going into a playoff run, you got to protect your biggest asset. And I think the Chiefs are completely solid inside. Obviously, I mean, those three are three of the best, if not the best, at their positions in the NFL. So. You got that going for you. Now you just got to build around it, right? You got to figure out some protection schemes and different things to protect the guys that are, for lack of a better term, struggling a little bit. And I think going out and finding a veteran like DJ Humphries is an interesting move, right? I mean, he's a guy that, I don't know if, he's going to lose you a game, but it's going to be a risky proposition, putting a guy in there that was hurt and hasn't played and has got to build up some chemistry with his left guard in Joe Thuney. So yeah, it's an issue. It's something that I think all eyes are going to be on for not just this game but for the rest of the season, and the Chiefs absolutely have to get it right.
Okay, so we don't know physically how he's going to hold up, and we don't know the guy well enough to fully understand mentally how long it's going to take him to get acclimated and get a grasp on everything. But you talked about some important things there that I think we kind of overlook. how long it's going to take to build chemistry with the left guard, how long it's going to take just to feel comfortable enough with a new team being thrust into such an important situation so late in the season. And these games are all to be able to get the number 1 seed. These are all must-win games. How difficult of an ask is it to bring a guy who, number 1, hasn't played in a while because of the injury, and number 2, has not been a part of this organization, after a week and a half to say, okay, not only are you working your way back from injury, but here's a new team, here's the left tackle, go figure it out.
Well, it's God bless Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and Andy Heck, our offensive line coach, right? I mean, it's just, there's two avenues that could go here, right? Well, there's three. The safest bet, I think, is to move Joe Thuney out and bring Caliendo in, and I'll tell you why. Because I think Joe's a vet. He's an athlete. He's a baller. He's a gamer. He's gonna get it done. He's gonna do everything he can to get it done, and protect Patrick and to be a stalwart in there. That's the safest bet. When you bring in a guy like Caliendo and you bring him in, and you've got bumpers, guardrails. Timmy will tell you, like, playing guard is great in center when you're inside, because you've got these 300-pound massive guys on either side of you, kind of protecting gaps, and you just you can use them as bumpers, so to speak, and like bumper cars. And when you're playing tackle, you were out there on an island, right? So bringing in a guard is a much safer bet. He's been in the system like Caliendo has. He's been practicing the whole year. He's part of the group. He knows the deal. He's got that going for him. So that's the safest bet, Stephen. That's what the Chiefs would do if they want to go into this game and just try not to lose. Okay. Now, if you do that, you're going to have to ride that out. Like, you're going to have to take that through the rest of the season, especially right now at this point with not that many games left. They're going to have to either make a decision to go with the safe bet, or you bring in option 2 is you bring in DJ Humphrey and you say, all right, let's see how this goes. Now you're losing a game of getting yourself ready for the playoffs. Like you said, if it doesn't work out and it turns out to be disastrous and Patrick gets pressured and multiple sacks, 5 sacks in the last 2 games, 10 total, 5 in each game. That's a lot of pressure. That takes you out of your offensive mojo. So you either pull the Band-Aid off now, throw him out there and say, all right, we've got, X amount of games left in the season. We're going for broke. We want to make sure that this left tackle spot is shored up for the real season that's coming up here, the playoff season. Now that we're we are guaranteed a playoff spot. We're not guaranteed winning the division yet, but we are guaranteed a playoff spot. Do you say, all right, we're going to sacrifice a little bit now to be ready for the future? And then, hey, if it works out and DJ turns out to be a gem, then boom, more power to him. That's option B. Option C is, okay, let's stick with Wanye or Kingsley. Let them see who develops in practice and give them another shot based on the matchup, right? Based on who they're playing against, right? If you're going against a certain type of defensive end or a rush linebacker, you play Kingsley because he's better on film at blocking those types of guys. Or if you have a big, beefy defensive end who's a bull rusher, massive guy, maybe that's, is that going to be Wanye? Like, I'm just, making that stuff up. So there's the 3 options that the Chiefs, and it's going to obviously be pretty apparent when they come out of the tunnel on Sunday night and, somebody's, lines up in that spot, what they want to try. It could last a game. It could last 3 games. It could be for the rest of the season. I think it's just a matter of where the Chiefs and where Andy Heck, offensive line coach, feels comfortable going into this matchup against the Chargers.
And so people have said, look, Joe Thuney, he doesn't have the prototypical size of your normal left tackle, but he's a veteran. His technique is second to none. Mm-hmm. He's tremendously tough. I spoke to him after the game, and he just said, look, they tell me that they need to do this, and I need to do this. I'm doing whatever I can to help the team, and I'll be ready. And look, Wanye Morris spoke to the media and said everything that you wanted him to say and answered all the questions, so credit to him as well. But for Joe Thuney, if that's the route they end up, we've seen him do this for a game or for part of a game, what if he has to do it like for a playoff stretch? Could he hold up like that at left tackle?
I think so. I think so. I'm not being just Pollyanna optimistic about it. I really think with his veteran stature, like you said, Stephen, you nailed it. He's a tech man. He is just so solid on his technique. He's such a technician, and he's a gamer. He is dedicated to this organization, and he's going to work his butt off to make sure that he is ready to play at that position by watching film, studying the guys he's going to be playing against. He obviously knows the plays because the left guard and the left tackle have to know each other's, you got to know what each other's eating for dinner, because you have to have that kind of timing together, because a lot of times you're on your own. If they slide the protection to the right, and Creed's going to the right to help out the other side, a lot of times, your guard and tackle, you're on an island out there together, with, singled up rushers in the pass game, and, in zone blocking, you're working together. So he knows what he's doing, and that's not a problem. He's not going to have any mental mistakes. So it's just a matter of whether he can, get his technique down. What's going to happen, Stephen, the obvious thing is, just like when a defensive back is hurt or a defensive back is you bring in a new rookie defensive corner or safety, like they're going to be, that's the matchup to watch this week. I mean, obviously, Captain Obvious statement there, right? They're going to be throwing the kitchen sink out at the left tackle position, whether it's Joe Tooney, T.J. Humphrey, or Wanye, or Kingsley, or whoever they decide to play out there. Or, maybe, hey, John Alston's going to be in town watching his son Joe. Maybe they pull John out of the stands. I don't know.
Maybe they need to.
I would imagine John is going to be there for Alumni Weekend, considering that his son is playing, the Chiefs for the first time, because he didn't play in the first game, and it's at Arrowhead. So I can't imagine John's not going to be in the stands. And, maybe we'll see how Alfie's doing. Maybe he's got a few games left in him for this playoff stretch, and he can get out. Maybe he's been working out with his son Joe, who I'm actually very excited to see. I think that's going to be so cool. Can you imagine, like, you're a son and you walk out onto Arrowhead where you've been as a kid and watched your dad play there, and you look up and you see your dad's name on the Ring of Honor up there in the middle of the stadium, and you're like, wow, I'm out here on Arrowhead. That's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be a cool, regardless of whether he plays for the Chargers, the Raiders, whoever he plays for, the enemy. It's still going to be a pretty cool event when a player like John Alt's son walks out onto the field. But yeah, maybe John will come out. I think that the other, watch the defenses this game. They're going to be peppering that position with corners coming off the edge. They're going to have blitzers. They're going to be running what we call Texas or El Paso stunts, where the end dips in and the tackle loops around, or where the Texas stunt where the defensive tackle will try to rub into the left tackle, and then the end will loop inside and try to go over the guard. I mean, you're going to see all kinds of, we call them games. You're going to see all kinds of games going on over there on the left side, regardless, no matter who is over and who's playing where, because you're going to have two new guys in there, or you're going to have two guys who haven't performed playing at that position. So, it's going to be a defensive coordinator's mission to make that a more of a weak spot.
So how do you think this game plays out? The Chargers are battling for, position right now. They're the number 5 seed, and of course the Chiefs are trying to hold off the Bills for the 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's an old saying. Jeff Fedot and I talk about this on our pod all the time. Sometimes the team that needs it the most or has their back up against the wall has a slight advantage, and then of course you couple in all the other advantages: home field, talent of the teams, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, it is definitely an advantage point when you're in desperation mode. And I think the Chargers are fighting for their playoff life. And I think they're on the rise. So I think they're playing for a lot right now. And the Chiefs are too. I don't want to take anything away from what the Chiefs are playing for. Obviously, home field is huge, all of that stuff that goes with it. But I still think the Chiefs prevail in this game. I think the Chargers don't have some of the weapons that they would need to beat a team like the Chiefs. Now, granted, look, it's been couple tough games for the Chiefs, right? But they're winning. And I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to have to be a low-scoring game while the Chiefs get their offensive mojo back. I'm looking at like a 20-17 game, just like we've seen with the Panthers and the Raiders and some of these other scraps that the Chiefs have been in. I don't think right now the Chiefs are ready to score 30 against a team like the Chargers, but I think the defense will prevail and the offense will do enough to win this game.
All right, and tell people where they can hear the podcast.
Yeah, podcast is on the Believe Network, BLEAV, with my podcast partner, Jeff Fedotin. And you can follow along at Joe Valerio 73 on X, formerly Twitter, to get some updates.
Hey, Joe, as always, good talking to you. I'll try to text you. I'll be up in the press box, but I'm going to be making my rounds. I sure would like to see you and say hello on Sunday night.
Oh, that'd be great, Stephen. I would love that. Yeah, we'll be around. We'll have the big event there in the suite area for Tamba and all the alums that'll be back in town to celebrate with him and catch up with old friends and great teammates. So looking forward to it.
All right,
Hope we can catch up.
I'll come and find you. All right, Joe, thank you.
All right, Stephen. Take care, my friend.
That is Joe Valerio, who joins us every week right here on Sports Radio 810 WHP. from yesterday's media gatherings. Here's quarterback Patrick Mahomes, and here's his thoughts on perhaps his new left tackle, DJ Humphries.
Yeah, I mean, you see how talented he is. I mean, the physical gifts are there. It's been cool to watch him interact with other guys, too. I mean, you can tell he's smart. He's willing to teach guys, which is big in that room. We got a lot of young guys there. And so I've been very impressed, and I'm excited for him to get more and more work with more and more practice and hopefully be ready to go as soon as possible.
And here is head coach Andy Reid talking about working DJ Humphries into the lineup.
Yeah, I think eventually you want to get somebody in there that does a good job. I mean, that's and really is can stay in there and be that guy. As we develop the young guys, you're going to have some hiccups. So we know that. We knew that going in. But we'll see. See if DJ can do that, he can do it, and then if he can't, he can't.
Here's more from Andy Reid on the left tackle situation.
Yeah, literally seeing what we can do at practice and how he feels and communication there, and I'm playing it day by day, so see how it all ends up. I think it's probably going to go that way throughout the week here. So.
He will get snaps with the wants then.
Yeah, he took some snaps last week, but this will be faster for him. Last week was a short week, so this will be a better indicator. See where he's at.
Will Tui be your guy?
That's one of the options. Yeah, that's one of the options. Wanye, still in there too. So.
And here's Patrick Mahomes with more on the left tackle situation.
I don't know if it's affected me too much. I mean, I've played with all those guys before, and I know those guys are out there battling. They're out there, and they've played winning football before. And so I just go about my business, go about my process, and try to stay within the scheme of the offense. And then when stuff breaks down, I try to go out there and make plays. And so that's what I'm going to continue to do.
That's what he's supposed to say. That's a leader. All right. Coming up, we'll talk to Greg Gurley and then Adam Kaplan, Gary Dieter, Anthony Sherman, and Jesse Newell. I had a chance last night to stop by the UMKC Idaho game to see Lee Hunt, former head coach, who was honored during one of the timeouts in the first half, and sat and talked with him for a few minutes. 90 years old, man, and still rolling, and had a badass UMKC warm-up top, like a top to a running suit from like circa 1993, looking clean, looking right. Saw Tony Dumas, who was has number retired at halftime, who was the number 19 overall pick in the 1994 draft by the Dallas Mavericks. And coolest thing was, because when I was one of the assistant student managers there in the 94-95 season, I saw my man Jeff, who was the head manager, and then I saw two of the players that were my friends that were on the team, Travis Salmon and Curtis Barnes, and we sat and watched most of the game together, and that was really cool, man, because I hadn't seen those guys. I had seen Travis, but I hadn't seen Curtis since then. Since, he was on the team and I was working for the team. And so it was great to see those guys, great to see Coach Hunt and Tony Dumas and just be a part of that last night. Man, it was it did my heart good. It was a great reminder of a time where I worked really hard to get to where I am now. And sometimes you got to take a look in your past to appreciate where you are right now in the present and where you're going in the future. And I feel like I did that last night, and I was really happy because Phil was with me, and I got to introduce Phil to a bunch of those guys that I went to school with and say, oh, by the way, he's graduating from the Block Business School with honors coming up in May. And so it's just that was really cool. And I forgot to get a picture with Phil because Phil was a photographer taking pictures with me and, my classmates and some old friends and stuff. That was And that was awesome last night. I'm glad I did that. We'll take a break. We'll talk to Greg Gurley after this, and then Adam Kaplan, and then the dynamic duo, and then Jesse Newell. Packed show between now and 10 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.